Good evening, everyone. My name is Juliana Belia. I'm the city's Public Works Director, and I would like to welcome everyone to the Tropicaire Boulevard Shared Use Path Community Meeting. With us this evening, we have our dignitaries, Vice Mayor Debbie McDowell. Thank you for coming. We also have former Commissioner Tom Jones in the audience with us this evening. City staff this evening, we have Mr. Jerry Traverso. He is our Engineering Division Manager. Mr. Benjamin Newman, he is our projects engineer. And somewhere around, I believe in the back, we have Michael Fear. He is our communications outreach coordinator, and he is taping the meeting. It will be both audio and video that can be seen on YouTube, as well as the city's website. Also with us this evening, we have our city's engineering consultant, Mr. Alfredo Selly, Senior Roadway Project Engineer, and also Mr. Carlos Laris, who is the structures engineer. We have comment sheets in the back. If anybody would like to make written comments, that would be most appreciated on the project. We also have a sign-in sheet, and if you'd like to also please include your email, we would be more than happy to send out project updates for the shared use path. If everyone could, if you want to make a comment when we're finished with the presentation, and speak into the mic, then we can make sure that it's captured on the audio and video. And also, we're going to try to limit each person's questions to maybe 3 minutes, because we have a pretty good-sized crowd. That way, everybody will have the opportunity to ask a question. At this time, I'm going to turn the mic over to Mr. Selly, and he is going to provide us with the presentation this evening. Oh, you got the mic.
Thank you. Can you all hear me okay? Thank you very much. Really appreciate your attendance. We're very happy to have a really nice sized crowd. We found that these type of projects really benefit from the input from the community because it's for you. It's being developed for you. So this project is the multi-use path, which means a shared use path. It'll be for non-motorized vehicles. That also includes equestrian, pedestrian, cyclists, inline skaters, anything that can move that doesn't have a motor. And it starts from Ponce de Leon Boulevard, and it goes all the way to, because of the size limits of the board. That's a break over there, it continues over here. It goes all the way to Toledo Blade Boulevard. It's on the south side of Tropicaire. This is the 60% plans preparation. That's where we are on the design. Here's the overall for the project location on the screen. It starts at Ponce de Leon and ends at Toledo Blade. You see the two exits. Exit 182 and 179 for Sumter Boulevard, and then 179 for Toledo Blade. The project is a multi-use path, so as I mentioned at the opening, it's for cyclists, for pedestrians, for equestrian users, inline skaters, and non-motorized users. The trail is made up of, it's an 8-foot wide trail, and it's made up of asphalt pavement for the majority of the trail. The only exception where the trail surface will be different, it will be concrete pavement on the bridge. There's a bridge that spans Meakahachi Creek, which is also known as Big Slough. And the trail is approximately 5 miles in length. These are the typical sections, and this is just a standard cross-section of how the trail is going to look. So Tropicaire Boulevard is to remain as is. There's some resurfacing and reconstruction of pavement project that's coming up, but this project won't touch Tropicaire Boulevard. The first section is in areas where the surrounding property south of Tropicaire is draining away from Tropicaire Boulevard further to the south. We need to put the trail between the road and the roadside swales so that we can maintain and preserve that flow of water. The second section is in areas where the properties south of Tropicaire are draining towards the road. We need to put the trail close to the right-of-way so that we can preserve that drainage, so that the trail doesn't block the drainage. Here's how the bridge will look. Now there's an update here on the color. The bridge will be city green color. I know the slides show it as the metal color, but it will be city green color. There are two box culverts, big canals. It's a Cosmic Canal and Creighton Canal. So for those areas, the trail will be placed close to the road and within the area of the box culvert, so there wouldn't be any work to extending the box culvert and any other, more costly type of treatment. So we can do it within the area that's there. Some of the design elements of the project, it has, one of the big elements, of course, is the pedestrian bridge over Mayakahatchee Creek, which is Big Slough. In the big overall is almost about a quarter of the way of the project through, maybe a little bit more than a quarter. Now the pedestrian bridge is going to be slightly higher than the roadway bridge, but it's mainly to preserve the drainage on Big Slough so that water that moves through the creek still continues to move the way as it is now. There's really no impacts to the creek. The bridge will just span the creek. There'll be two abutments. As you can see on the screen, kind of like highlighted in green, those will be the two areas that will support the one continuous steel element. I'll let if any questions on the bridge, Carlos is here to help. So there will be no supports in the middle on the canal. These are an example of the other two crossings where you have a Cosmic Canal or Creighton Canal. They'll be using the existing box culvert, so there's no need to extend those expensive drainage elements to accommodate the multi-use trail. One other area, and I apologize for having just the standard engineering drawing, but this is still a 60% level, so we're developing this a little bit more. There's an existing crossing on Tropicaire, an existing pedestrian crossing that has the flashers for pedestrians. We're going to improve that a bit. We're going to add what's called a rapid rectangular flashing beacon. It's one that it's activated with a button. So if you press it, it has two rectangular lights, and they flash to the motorists. So the motorists are more aware that there's somebody that wants to cross the road. And the reason we're putting that in that location between Big Slough and Reisterstown, there's an existing one there. And it's because it also provides a connection to an existing dirt trail that runs along the west side of Big Slough. One of the other design features on this project is we are meandering the trail, especially when you come to major side streets. And the reason why is we want to bring the users of the trail closer to the roadway traffic. That way, folks crossing on the side streets or turning from the main road from Tropicaire to the side streets have an opportunity to see the folks on the trail easier. Furthermore, that chicane movement, that meander movement, forces the folks riding on a bicycle on the trail to slow down, and that slowing down gives them more time to see folks on the main road. So if they need to hit the brakes on the bicycle, they can do it. Here's an overall project schedule. The notice to proceed for the design was in August 2018. We did a 15% plan submittal to the city. 50% plans is simply to show kind of where the trail is going to go so that we can approve that. Then we developed, and that was in November. 60% plan submittal was submitted to the city in January. Right now, we're incorporating comments from the city to submit those plans for a permit to the South Water Management District and to the Army Corps of Engineers. The reason it goes to the Army Corps of Engineers is because of the bridge over Big Slough. We anticipate the design to be completed by this summer, by July 2019. Construction is to start after October 2020. That's when funding is available. And the construction time is about 12 months. I think at the end of this year, at the end of 2019, the reconstruction and resurfacing of Tropicaire Boulevard is going to be bidded out for construction. So you will see work on Tropicaire Boulevard before you see work on the trail. So that way we make sure that the pavement on Tropicaire is restored ahead of the trail.
And if you wouldn't mind if I could kind of interject one comment that's of importance. We have gone through and hired a company to do what they call pavement corings to find out there are some areas of Tropicaire Boulevard that are going to need to be reconstructed of the base underneath, not just roadway resurfacing with asphalt. So we've identified those areas, and we will also have that reconstruction occur as part of that contract.
Thank you. There is a project signing sheet and project comment forms at the back tables. If you have any comments, please write them down, and also you'll have an opportunity at the end of the presentation to voice your comments. Please don't forget to sign in. And if you write your email address, the city is going to be able to provide you updates on the project as well. Now here's a short rendering on how the project is going to look. It just shows kind of like highlights in yellow where the trail is going to go through on the different areas. And I think it's about a minute long, the video. So here we're starting at Ponce de Leon Boulevard, moving, flying towards the east. What you see on the right side highlighted in yellow, that's the location of the trail. That's Abdella Lane. Now, one key thing to note is the majority of the trees are outside the city right-of-way. Now, this comes, of course, from Google Earth, so it is accurate enough for depiction, but we're not impacting any trees with this project. And also, there are lighting on Tropicaire Boulevard. There'll be a need to relocate, not light poles, but some of the guy wires. I think it's just a handful of them. We try to design the trail to avoid as many impacts to what you have out there now. So you can also see through the fly-through how the trail moves from right next to Tropicaire to further out to the edge of the right-of-way as it accommodates the different changes in topography, as I mentioned a little bit earlier on the standard sections. You can also notice how the trail meanders and gets closer to Tropicaire as we get to main side streets, and that's intended for safety and visibility of folks using the trail. I think we just passed Cosmic Canal. I'm sorry, Creighton Canal, and that's Toledo Blade. So you have any questions or comments? We'll be more than glad. Yes, sir.
I have 2 lots here. I have 2 lots on Tropicaire at Ferrandina Street, and I plan on building a garage with a driveway going to Tropicaire. What's going to be I'm going to have to tear out your path because it's not going to be for another 2 years.
Well, depending on the timing on the construction of the project, if it's while still under design or before it goes into construction, that is something that will be submitted to the city for review, and then those plans can be forwarded to us to accommodate the trail if it's not constructed yet. But if it is constructed, it will need, the driveway will need to match.
So I'll be responsible for replacing?
Yes. Similarly, like if you were to do a driveway into Tropicaire and, tie in, how you tie in on Tropicaire and feather that in, yes. What you can do is when you build the driveway and the trail is already in place, you can treat your driveway as if it were crossing 2 roads. So you wouldn't need to reconstruct the trail. Your driveway will just need to come in and connect to the existing trail, and then you'll build a continuation of your driveway from the trail to Tropicaire.
Does that have to be concrete, or can I put gravel for that driveway?
We are evaluating that now on how we're going to have special treatments based on the driveways that are out there. We just did we're on the 60% design phase. Last Last week, we did a field review to identify all the driveways and the different materials. Right now, we're coordinating with the city on special treatments for different driveways. So once we have that completed, that'll be the answer on how you'll need to accommodate for that, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, your graphic.
Just a second, would you wait till you get the microphone close to you? Thanks.
The graphic, the video, doesn't really show the proximity of the path to my front line. And my concern is a number of items. First, many of us have gate control items that are away from some distance from the gate, and what role that plays, and in specifically, if I have an address, can I find out from your drawings how far away from my front gate that path will be?
Yes, that was one of the comments that we received under 60% plans, is to include in the plans the addresses for the different lots, so that you can really see where your lot is and how that will impact. Now, on your question about the gate openings, right? We really don't want any private gates opening to the trail. So in our meandering of the trail, as far as we can tell, we establish the trail so that it's shy.
It's not the gate opening, it's the controller. A column with the keypad.
Oh, okay, yes,
Right.
yes, no,
And I can't tell from that video, I mean, it apparently comes close once you pass Malton. It starts to veer more to the right,
yes.
toward the property line.
Yes, sir,
And,
yes.
The subsequent question is about the drainage culverts.
So for the controller,
Right.
when we established the path for the trail, before anything, we had a survey done, right, to capture everything that's within the city's right-of-way. There are some fences that are within the city's right-of-way, some, I'm not sure if the design, I think the design controller might be within your property, but if it's within the city's right-of-way, we design the curvature of the path to avoid impact to those. Furthermore, there are some gates that open towards the outside, so for those gates, we meander the trail so that if the gate opens, it doesn't block the trail. For the drainage, as I mentioned, we had two, let me go to the beginning. We have two typical sections. So when the lay of the land is that everything is flowing away into the right-of-way and further south, we put the trail between the road and the drainage swale so that we don't impact the drainage. If your property drains towards Tropicaire, we maintain the swale between the road and the path. That way, the path doesn't block.
Now, what's the distance from the 8-foot to the red line, which would be the property line there? What's that distance?
It varies. In the closest segments, I think we're within 5 feet. But it varies.
My
Yes, sir.
question is on the driveway. I have a shell driveway. How are you going to go across that?
So for the trail, the intention, we're still reviewing that with the city, but the intention is to have the trail be asphalt throughout. So we're reviewing, that's why we went and looked at the different materials that the driveways are made of. So we're going to develop treatments to accommodate different driveway types: shell driveways, asphalt milling driveways, stamped concrete driveways, brick paver driveways. So we're coordinating that with the city right now on how the different driveways will be handled.
Do we have a say on that?
Well, yes, sir, this is the perfect time for it, yes.
Grab comment sheet and.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes,
Is this funded part through the Legacy Trail money that we voted in?
I do not believe so.
So why isn't the Legacy Trail kicking in here? I mean, this is extending bike trails into Northport, which, of course, Sarasota doesn't want to do anyway, but, why isn't this funded partially?
This is a project entirely within the city, so it'll be funded. We have in the city Northport Road Drainage District, which is a special assessment district. So those monies will be specifically for that, from that funding source. And the Legacy Trail will be something separate if it was to be extended.
Yeah, my question is, I'm so glad this is coming in because I've been afraid to ride my bike on
on Tropicaire because cars go by there about 100 miles an hour sometimes. I'm not kidding, they do. My question is, when it gets to Sumter, is there going to be a connector between this trail and the trails that go under 75 and connect with the existing trail on Sumter?
So on Sumter, you have the 2 bike lanes.
Yeah.
So the design will provide a connection from the multi-use path to those bike lanes, and then you can use those bike lanes further south.
So you take your life in your hands by having cars go by 6 inches from you on that curve.
I'll be more than glad to design a trail there too.
Picture you.
All right, I'm back here and I'd like to speak.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, who is this being built for to benefit? I know he rides bikes, but who really along Tropicaire from Ponce to Toledo Blade is this really benefiting? Who is it built for? And I've got many more questions than that.
Well, it's the users, as the design engineer, I can say that the users of the trail will be cyclists.
No, I mean, who is coming into this area to use it? We live on this road. I live where they're showing it going really close to a high hedge I have very good horses. I have not a large area of swale. If it runs to my property, it's going to impact me and flood me, okay? And the town said last summer, we can't help you with that because you can't connect to the main ditch. What I'm saying is, who's benefiting? And second, another thing, you've got, oh, horses can go down this hill. Well, horses don't go on macadam. They can't go on concrete. They'll slip, they'll fall, they'll get injured, they'll founder. Second, we have Tropicaire Boulevard, which is a racetrack. And when the police can finally get out there, I would be glad to have them park behind my hedge and pick them off at 100 miles an hour. Cyclists, we've got motorcyclists going, passing so fast, it's amazing they're not out of the gene pool any sooner than they're going to be, okay? We've got people that are running intersections at Salford and where I am and Tropicaire, going right through at 50 miles an hour. We've had accidents where the MedStar helicopters had to been out there to pick them up. You've got people going down that road. You've got people passing at over 55 miles an hour. They're passing at 75 and 80. So you've got them really close to the road. You've got driveways coming in with people like the gentleman in front said about his getting into his automatic gates. Okay, you've got cyclists coming down the street. You've got people coming in their gates. And now tell me something. When you have somebody get injured or a horse shy and spook and kick somebody or somebody shooting their back of their motorcycle off and the horse spooks and we have a lawsuit, now who's going to get sued too? Us? The city? Where is it going? I mean, so it sounds wonderful, and I think crossing the creek is fabulous for the trail. Macadam is a single-use thing for cyclists and people that want to jog on heavy surfaces. It's not for natural horses or anything else, which this community, as an ag community, is basically been set up. Now, the trails going down the road on Sumter and on Toledo Blade are gorgeous, okay? Northport's done a fabulous job. It's beautiful, the landscaping's beautiful, you've got covered places for people to sit. It's wonderful. You're also in a residential and semi-commercial atmosphere way off the road, and Sumter and Toledo Blade are more policed in the traffic than Tropicaire and North Salford. So I'm just saying, who are you trying to benefit? Are we getting people to come in here and park and drive down this thing and ride? Is that who it's for? Or is it for the people who live along this area in Northport Estates that moved out here to have land, to have privacy, and to have their ag use? Okay?
The multi-purpose trail is for the residents that live out in the estates, as well as the rest.
You're going to bring more traffic into our
The problem, it's difficult as it is out here.
I have,
Okay, the next point about the speeding, I will get with the city's police department and request that the traffic control be increased out in your area, because we have received complaints and relayed that to the police department previous to this on Tropicaire Boulevard. We will also take a look at the speed on Tropicaire Boulevard. We'll take another look at it to see if possibly it should be lowered. So we will take a look at all that. I got to get this guy, then you'll be next.
This is just a housekeeping issue. you've got a paved path, you've got horses, you've got bicycles, you've got people walking. Who's going to keep that path clean?
That'll be the road drainage district.
Every day? All right.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. I haven't heard what this is going to cost. I realize it's going to cost more in 2020, but what's the projected cost as of 2019?
Including the bridge, the cost is about 2.8, 2.9 million.
Okay. I'd like to make a comment. A few weeks ago, I sat in this chamber until after midnight. It was one of the longest commission meetings that the city's seen, and it had to do with the budget for the drainage district. We went round and round trying to find money just to buy a mower to maintain the swales, and now we're talking about taking 2.8, probably more than $3 million out of that budget in 2020 to build a bike path that, as far as I can tell, there is no support for. I have great respect for you as professionals. I have a city management background myself. This has nothing to do with the plans or the care that's been taken with the planning. I object to the trail itself, and I object to the reasoning behind it. Number one, a lot of bicyclists like to use our area that aren't from the estates. I don't mind that. It's a great place to ride your bike. It's very scenic. It's one of the reasons I moved out there. However, bicyclists who like to ride long distances don't want to use a bike path. They find bike paths annoying. They want to use the road. And as a former police officer, I can tell you the number of times that I've stopped bicyclists for not using the bike path, as they will be required to do by law once this is constructed. They will no longer have the option of using the roadway. They're not going to like that. So you're putting a dent in the use of the area for the bicyclists. So I don't think this is for bicyclists. If it's for joggers, joggers don't like to jog on macadam. They want to jog on something softer like dirt. So the macadam is a problem. The horse people won't use it, again, for the reason stated, because you can't ride horses on asphalt. That's why the horses use the swale. So, and the swale's ideal for that. It's great. You know, I think we do need a solution to the bike and pedestrian issue. I'd like to know if staff looked at including a bike lane adjacent to the roadway, as we have in other areas, for instance, on Sumter, leading off of 75, and what the cost projection for that was versus this project. So I object to the project itself, and I don't think I'm alone. And I think the plan looks great. The renderings are beautiful. It's the wrong project for the estates. Finally, I don't want traffic coming into the estates that doesn't live there. As a former police officer, I am paranoid about burglaries. I have enough problems picking up the trash off the swale from the construction people that are out there as it is. I don't want, quote, foreigners coming into my neighborhood. I know that's NIMBY, but there it is. I really don't want this project. I would love to see Tropicaire extended 5 or 6 feet and a nice paved and well-marked bike path included along there that people can use. Thank you.
I'm going to be the difference person, because I do live out on Tropicaire, right on Tropicaire, and I do ride horses, and I've been doing it for the last, oh my gosh, 60-some years. We won't go into how long. Yes, they do ride on pavement. Yes, I've ridden in multiple parades, including the Chicago. They do ride on asphalt. They do ride on concrete. It's called, you train them. And when you ask me about this bike path, as long as it says equestrian, I am for it 100%, because I do ride all the way to the Carlton. I do ride all the way to the Myakkahatchee. Yes, you can ride on concrete. No, you do not have to put shoes on them. You put Cabela's.
That's crazy.
No, it is not crazy, and if you do your homework for research, you know it wasn't.
You're gonna have an accident.
And so, no, not even then. I mean, people need to do their homework on this stuff, especially if you do parading. And so if you look at the issue, what we're looking at, when I look at that path up there, first of all, I'm not going to trot or canter on it. The only thing I want to do is get from point A to point B safely. And when I'm going, I'm just going to walk on it. And yes, when my horse's tail starts to come up, yes, I do turn his butt so it goes on the grass, because that's what grass is made of, poop. People love that fertilizer. And I'm really hoping that Tropicaire and the people that live out the estates understand we're looking at it for safety. There's a little boy that died right out there on Tropicaire. Had there been this path, he would still be alive. And so Hold it, back the train up, guys. And the reason I'm going to say that is because I am a safety specialist. I am a driver's ed instructor. And the fact is, we don't have safety out on Tropicaire. The only way to get to point A and point B is walk in the mud. And that would be an ideal, especially being an 8-foot path where you can pass either side.
Not on the cattle, not on, you know what, you are good at what you do. You know what you're doing with horses. You've done parades, and you know what's going on. The classic person getting on the horse and going down the street doesn't. And when that motorcycle goes by and starts popping its pipes because it's enjoying himself and doing its thing, and that horse jumps up in the air and splits sideways on that pavement and comes down, who's gonna get sued, who's gonna get injured or killed?
It's called the liability for horsemen. Read it.
You know what? You don't know who's gonna be on that path.
I've already ride there. Do you understand? I already...
Who's gonna be there? It's not just you and everybody like you.
No, it's everyone. And the thing that I notice most about down here is education is the answer to a lot of things. And being out there in the estates, we moved out there to be agriculture. We moved out there to be in the good green stuff. But we also moved out there for safety. And I have to admire these guys. They have done their homework for safety and driveways and moving it over for shared use. They've done their homework. And I'd like to see people do a little more research and be a little bit more open-minded than say, not in my backyard, because this is in my backyard. I live on Tropicaire.
I've got 12 acres out there, corner of Tropicaire and Toledo Blade, which is going to be Sunseekers Outdoor Adventures with horses, riding right down here. You guys have all seen this. This is a 0.5 of a mile down on Toledo Blade at the end. It's called Walton Ranch. There's all kinds of parking there. There's all kinds of places to walk, to hike, to do everything you want. You won't have to be in the cars. So they can all go down there. We don't have to pay for it. Sarasota County's already done it. It's beautiful. And you know what it says there on their pole? No dogs. There's a reason. If those horses, as they say, and they're on that corner for a ride down in Walton Park, we're going to have a problem, okay? Now, let me just go into one more thing. We have a pool going up. You know how many parking stalls that's out and short? Approximately 40, but the city didn't bother telling you until the last week they decided to say, oh, we're going to get some parking from Sarasota schools. They don't have it. Sarasota doesn't want to give it to them, and as of today, there was no agreement. Okay, now we got a $12 million pool. We have the Warm Mineral Springs. Go out and walk around there. There's 80 acres. If you do a quarter mile by quarter mile by quarter mile, that'd make a round track for you out there. The city has never, whether it's the water department that had a $102,000 survey and got 5,400 responses, and Debbie knows how many people wanted it because she did a door-to-door on it. This is absolutely ridiculous. We went out there to be alone. That's my job. Thank you. Could you address whether a bike lane was option? Was that looked at? Did staff consider that?
No, sir. No, sir. That was not included with this project.
Where are they going to park the car? I didn't buy the way.
Pardon me?
Out there to take their bikes? Okay, they come out their car, their pickup, and that type of thing. Where are they going to park the car along Toledo Blade or along Tropicaire? You got a parking lot you own there?
No, we don't.
No, you don't.
No, we don't. Okay, if I can, before we continue, before the next lady has the question, excuse me, I'd just like to recognize we have Commissioner Carazone in the audience. We also have Commissioner Luke here this evening with us. Ma'am, go ahead in the back.
I may have missed it, but I wonder how you're going to handle the small bridges. I do ride my horse along Tropicaire, and I agree, this is much safer than what's happening now. In my opinion, the biggest danger are the small bridges. Is there going to be a barricade between the bridge and the road?
You see the picture there?
There's going to be a guardrail? Okay.
Yes, there's guard, right now, on the 60% plans, we have shown guardrail, but we're also evaluating this to see if a traffic barrier will be used, like a concrete traffic barrier.
My horses aren't afraid of cars, but they're afraid of a leaf that might blow and they jump in front of the car.
Okay, the next question?
Yeah, I also want to say,
drawings are excellent, they're wonderful. I don't live out in that area. However, I agree with most of the people so far today. I don't like where this is being put. Was there a study that was done, and what was the questions asked? Who said they wanted it? Who said they didn't want it? I haven't heard anybody anywhere say that there's been a study done.
We have not done a study. We have had many residents request some type of accommodation for walking, for bike riding. They say it's very dangerous to do that on Tropicaire Boulevard. They have complained, as I mentioned earlier, about the speeding. I've mentioned that before to the police department. I just made a call to Chief Garrison and asked him if he could take a few minutes and come over here and talk to everyone about that. I am going to ask for more police traffic control out there for the speeding. So we are trying to accommodate requests for safer travel ways for both pedestrians and bicyclists. And also, we've had requests for the horses to have an area to be able to put their horses along Tropicaire Boulevard and be off the roadway. So that is the reason that we've come forth with this project.
Okay, I'm sorry, just to finish up on the same thing.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to spend $3 million on a few people saying that they want it. That's what I just understood from you.
Not a few, many people have requested
Many.
it.
How many's a
Yes, sir.
many? A dozen?
They
These
live-
people seem to live out in Tropicaire area, and they don't want it, so you didn't ask
Actually, we have
them.
people that live out in the estates. We also have a bicyclist club that do a lot of bicycling out there. I don't have a number. I don't have a number.
I understand that the equestrian people out in the neighborhood probably want a safe place to ride their horses. But as somebody that lives on Tropicaire and, you know, to check my mail, to mow my lawn, to have a package delivered, it's not a safe place for somebody to park and stop. I mean, the mail people probably fight traffic on a pretty daily basis. People do not stop on Tropicaire. If you're backing your trailer in, they don't care. If I'm pulling into my driveway, they tailgate me. I mean, it's not safe. So I think we should have a safer way of just even navigating for people that live on there before we start inviting people to come out to our safe neighborhood. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
And I get, you know, there's a lot of places for people to ride horses out by us. So I feel like, you know, the parks, Myakaachi, it goes out to the preserve, wonderful, great, but we need a safe way to check our mail and to maintain our swells and to drain during hurricane season. Those are much bigger problems in our area.
One of the items,
I mean, I appreciate everything you've done.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think if we had bike people, if there were bike people here that rode in clubs and said, hey, my whole group of 20 that you pass every Saturday will ride on that bike path, great. But I know that they're not going to. They don't abide by the stop signs out there. They pull out in front of us all the time. We can't properly pass them because the road is so narrow that I'm going to hit a mailbox or I'm going to hit them or an oncoming car. So we have a lot bigger issues out there. I just kind of wish you guys asked us, but.
That being said, that's the purpose of this community meeting. And one of our jobs as staff is to bring forth your comments, which we will do. I'm the director of this department. I will bring these comments to my boss, who's the assistant city manager and city manager, and we will also inform the commission. We have 3 commissioners here this evening. So, and then we'll go from there. Presently, we have money in the budget for the design of this project, and we will let them know your feelings.
Does that mean, because the budget is the budget, does that mean if we wanted an estimate on, you know, bike lane versus a multi-use path, could we get an estimate on what the price would be for that?
It's not about just getting an estimate. What we would have to do, let's just say, right now, these gentlemen with this firm were hired to do a design for this shared use path.
And it's beautiful.
Okay, so if something should occur that we don't proceed with this for some reason, and we want to do something different, we would have to do a design for the bike lane. But presently, that's where we're at in the process. We don't have anything budgeted or funded or planned for any type of a, alternative. Right. Yes, ma'am.
Let me just add that one of the things to look on this type of facility, a multi-use path facility, is to think of it for connectivity, as if you were putting a sidewalk. So for example, if you were just adding a sidewalk on Tropicaire, just to provide connectivity for people to walk from one lot to the other, or for the kids that are walking to the different school bus stops. One of the things that we noted on Tropicaire, there are several bike racks put in place there by the school board for the different middle schools and elementary schools and high schools that get picked up in that area. I know it seems like the perspective that this is a linear park, that will invite people from outside to come in and park on the roadway shoulder and use this as a park. We've been involved only in the design, so on my experience on the design of these type of projects, it's a connection type of project, a connectivity to serve the folks in the community, as if you were going to put a sidewalk. The only thing is that it's a sidewalk plus, because in this community, there's also folks that, have equestrian use, there's also folks that like to cycle. So it's not necessarily a park. There's no trailheads being added that will provide a facility for folks to come outside the community to use this project on a vehicle. Folks from outside the community, they can ride their bicycle, as they do now, instead of having to ride their bicycle on a very, very fast speed road. Being out there doing field reviews, I completely understand the issue on the speed. Folks on Tropicaire do go fast, do go very, very fast, and they do tailgate you, they do that. Yes, I completely agree with that. So just think of it if this is providing a safer path for folks that do not want to use their car, that they either want to walk, either to a bus stop, school stop, use the trail, the natural dirt trail along Big Slough, go to a neighbor's house. Instead of having to take your car, this will be something. Just think of it as not necessarily a linear park.
And I appreciate all that the city is doing to address this issue, and you know that there are issues out there. I have a couple of questions too, because I actually fit all of the criteria. I live on Tropicaire on the south side. I have horses, so I use it as equestrian. I ride bikes, but not on Tropicaire anymore, and I have my dogs that I like to walk. So I would use this or whatever we do in all of the ways. I do hope that we are considering lowering the speed limit on Tropicaire as well as some stop signs. I see how this is going to, if it's in place, draw people to cross the road a lot more. I have difficulty actually getting across the road because I'm on the south side and I ride in the park. I have to cross over to get to the park. And sometimes that's terrifying and will take quite a while to do. At this point, the traffic is uninhibited. It just goes, and many people interpret that as, I go until something has to stop me. So with no stop signs or anything out there, and actually encouraging more people to be on that road and cross that road, I think we really need to put that in place.
Ma'am, I have a general question, and would you say, because I know previous to this, we received complaints that there's a lot of dump trucks, construction-type vehicles, that type of vehicle speeding. Would you say that's still the case, or is there also regular cars and regular pickup trucks?
It's all vehicles.
Okay.
And Tropicaire has become a bypass.
I'm not kidding. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Cars go by there so fast, you can't even
Yeah.
tell what they're doing.
Tropicaire has become a bypass for people that want to avoid using Price or 41 or any of the roads that have stop signs and traffic signals to interrupt the driving. There's so many people on that road now that it should be a residential speed limit and should be treated as one, especially if we're going to put a sidewalk in there. Now, I had heard something as well about if we're going to be tearing up and doing this, about laying some high-speed internet cable. Is this something that's still?
I'm glad that makes you guys happy. Yes, we are investigating that as part of the reconstruction project, not part of the
The paving,
Yeah.
paving project.
Right.
The reconstruction of the paving, we're looking
There-
at adding what's called dark
I'll
fiber.
give it to you.
I was preaching to use the microphone, I was, sorry about that. as part of the actual reconstruction of the pavement, we're looking at adding what is called dark fiber. We would add the pull boxes and the conduit, and then probably we'll invite either AT&T or Verizon, one of the providers that will provide the high speed. I'm not supporting any of the companies, I just used two examples. But I want to add a little bit, and I've been there at Tropicaire, and they travel fast. And I've heard somebody make a comment that the lanes are too narrow, and it will be good if it will be wider to the trailer. I just want to heads up, every time you get a wider lane, what it does is increase the speed. The wider the lane, the faster the people will go. And the problem is with this is like when you look at well, you don't have to look at that. If you look at here, Tropicaire is pretty much a straight shot. It's as straight as an arrow. So the straighter the road, the wider the lanes, it's a drag race waiting to happen, and I think that is happening already. So there are different aspects that we can look at traffic calming, but for the speed, the best one will be coordinated with the police, because I can tell you, everybody see a patrol car stopping there, even if it's empty, people hit the brakes. The problem is that they get used to, then they remove the truck, or they leave it there, and then after 3 days, you're like, psst, that's a dummy, it's empty. So there are a lot of issues that I understand your frustration and your comments, and those unfortunately will not be treated under the project that we let them do the design. I just want to add that we are looking at also, we're on Biscayne, we're bringing that sidewalk and bike lanes up, and our goal will be for the future of the city to come along Ponce de Leon, cross over 75, and bring Ponce de Leon up to connect to the Tropicaire. And what it will do is like, it's what he said, it's a big connectivity. And you guys, if there's a city event and you want to drive your bike and come here, I'm trying to drive more bikes and try to lose weight. That would be a great, and especially Florida, we have a great weather in the winter, and people might come to City Hall, not everybody, and I understand not everybody, but it's a matter of having a connectivity. I think that the city is in a really good position, and we are known by Tree City, and we know by Environmental City. There's something called bikeable and walkable communities, and they have grants for that, and that's something that we're looking into. They have a lot of requirements, but once you hit that requirements.
Yeah, right. You're not listening. We don't want outside people in the neighborhood using the bike path. You're just not listening.
Okay. Well, that is it's part of the bigger community if you want to look at it, but okay.
We're in an area that is zoned agricultural for a reason. We specifically purchased property in Northport in that area because it is zoned agricultural. We didn't buy properties inside a planned community where that offer great amenities such as you're talking about, great connectivity. I could have moved into any number of neighborhoods in the city of Northport to get those amenities. I don't want those amenities. I'm in an agricultural area, and that's the way I want it to remain as much as possible. I really think staff missed the boat by not at least looking at a bike path option, even doing some paper napkin calculations to have some figures to give to the commissioners who are sitting as the district.
We have other people that.
Thank you.
Okay. I had one more. I have one more quick thing. Will any of us be required to lose any property or move our fence lines?
No, ma'am.
None at all? Okay, and we need those bridges no matter what we choose.
Yeah, I just want to say, just so that I have my opinion in here, I live on Tropicaire. I love riding bikes, and probably more of us would. I nearly got hit by a car riding my bike, and I haven't been on Tropicaire since riding. I live there. I would love to get out in an evening and ride my bike, and I'm sure there are probably other people who don't dare to ride out there either. So not everybody agrees with not having it out there. You know, maybe all of us could get out there and ride a little more. It's just, this is a difference of opinion. It's just that I like it. I think it's a great idea. You know, this is a city that's kind of based on activity and the waterways, et cetera. You know, Northport, I think, voted for the Legacy Trail, but you don't want it in your neighborhood.
Okay, so I have a question. If the trail is for the people that live out there, and the intention is not to draw traffic out there where they have nowhere to park and no real reason to be out there other than that trail, did you guys think about putting it on a States Drive? Because I have kids and dogs and stuff, and when I want to go for a walk, I don't go to Tropicaire because those people are going to kill me. So I go to Estates because that's the safest place for me to ride my bike and walk my dog and take my kids out. So, I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about the path either way, but if it's really for the people that live there, instead of putting it out where they're probably not going to use it anyway, put it in the back where people actually go to do those things. And move the bus stops back there. I mean, the bus stops could be back there. Our buses are stopping on Tropicaire, and then they go around and drive down Estates Drive. We should put our kids on Estates Drive and not out there on Tropicaire with all those crazy drivers.
Yes, so just a quick question and then a quick statement. North of 75, Northport, how far built out are we out there, percentage-wise?
Out in the Estates?
Yes.
I would have to check that, sir. I don't know.
Okay, but the reason I was talking about that or asking about that is he was talking about connectivity. So you're talking about connectivity and you don't even know how far built out we are out there. So how is that even, that just doesn't even make sense. So the second thing I want to say is from the sound of what I'm hearing here, and anytime we have projects in the city where we're looking to spend money like this, in my personal opinion, things like this should always be put to a vote. Let the people decide. This is not for you to decide.
Is it on? Hello? Okay. I'm going to try to be quick. I just have a few things that I need to say. First, I live on Tropicaire. My mailbox is on Tropicaire, and I'm on a corner. And I just want people to know that. I walk my dog. I like the idea. I'm on the fence as far as whether I like it or not, but I wanted to throw some things out there that nobody's brought up yet. First, I'm wondering if there's any lighting, street lights, or is it just dark at night and it's just a path?
There is no lighting associated with this project.
Okay, there may be in the future, but there's none now. Okay, the second is pet pickup stations. I mean, it's going to be my front yard, and people might be walking their dogs, and I hope they pick up after. I pick up myself, even though I live out in the estates. But if it's not in a ditch, I'll pick up after my dog and carry it home and put it in the trash can. So, especially if people are coming from somewhere else, which may happen because I do have people park on. I'm on a corner. They park on the quieter street and do lots of things. Anyhow, the second concern that hasn't been brought up is motorized vehicles. Now, there are people in the neighborhood with golf carts, and there are people that ride four-wheelers, and I'm wondering if there has been any thoughts of, and it'll add to the cost, poles at each street to keep them from going down, or are we just going to wait for it to possibly become an issue? It may not. I'm just throwing it out there. And then my last thing is, because I'm on a corner, I'd like to know where the meanderings are. Wondering how much asphalt is going to be kind of in my front yard, and how the end of the trails, Tropicaire and Ponce de Leon, are handled. Is there going to be a huge piece of asphalt there for people to collect with their bikes, with bike racks or whatever, or is it just going to be like it's shown on the screen right now? So just wondering if you know which corners the meanderings are on mostly.
So the point that you brought up about motorized vehicle being able to access the trail. So the meandering does a few things. So the idea is for safety, and in addition, it provides, if you can see on the image, that yellow striped off area. So the yellow striped off area provides the city for the opportunity to put in bollards to restrict motorized vehicles. The reason we don't propose bollards from the get-go in the beginning is because they are an obstruction for people riding bicycles or, jogging or riding or equestrian use. So if the city has an issue with, folks using that, then they have the opportunity to put a bollard in there, and that gore area provides a safety shoulder, safety buffer between the posts.
Yeah, we have big golf carts with big tires that will go right around, right through the ditch, right on that path.
Right now, we're looking at putting a few more bikes over there, bicycles. But did you ever stop to think that if Tropicaire is busy now, when I start riding around and I see all the empty lots that are available, you're going to go 3 times, maybe 4 times more traffic. What are the bicycles going to do then? They're going to ride on that? They're not even going to show up. If they want to do it, the lady had a good suggestion, and that's put it on the estate where there's nice water flowing down. It's all clear sailing. What's wrong with that?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Right now, we have a hard time getting the swales mowed in the summertime because of the water drainage. You're going to put a concrete barrier there. Who's going to mow the swales now? Because the mowers can't get in there because there's 4 foot of water in there. So you're going to have bushes up to yin-yang and nobody mowing them.
Unfortunately, the watershed, the drainage in the area for Tropicaire, you're probably familiar with the flood maps that were developed for that area, right? So in order to take care of that nuisance issue that it is wet and that way it cannot be mowed, in order for that to occur, a bigger project needs to be done, a whole global drainage project that will first alleviate the flooding.
Okay, I got that. But you've got a path on here that's going to be growed up on both sides with weeds. Perfect place for rapists and people who are up to no good. No lighting, all year round.
The path will actually provide an access for the city's crew to a better access than what they have now to mow.
Okay, another question. Y'all start at Ponce de Leon. What happened to the north end?
I'm sorry.
The north end, the north end of Ponce de Leon. West end, okay.
Yeah, what about from Ponce to Main?
Yeah, what about that? There's kids out there that are standing out there on the road. What about them? If you're going to do it all the way, not just part way. What's the sense?
We have to work, of course, the scope of the project goes from Ponce de Leon to Toledo Blade. So I don't know exactly what's in the program for the city, but I see it as a first step.
No, it's because that means anybody who lives east of whatever way it is, Ponce de Leon to Toledo Blade. Okay, you still have kids out there with the time change, standing in the dark, standing in the grass up to their yin-yang in the daytime. Buses that have to cross, in order to keep the traffic from hitting them and hitting the kids, they park diagonal in the road so nobody can go by them, so that the kids are at least safe. So if you're going to do this for the kids, then do it all the way or don't do it at all.
I'm going to ask a couple more questions and I'll shut up. First of all, they didn't vote on a $12 million pool, so why the hell would they let us vote on a $3 million deal? Secondly, to Julie, how much did this cost, and are we consistently, as we've done in your department and other departments here, first we're going to tell us that we all need this, second we're going to get an engineer, third we're going to get a plan, and fourth, you know what, they're going to ask us what we want. Congratulations.
I'm actually loud, so I can kind of speak up about it. I'm sure everybody can hear my voice. Mike, I got a quick question. Talking about the drainage, the Estates has an issue with drainage anyway, as it is. And anytime we get a storm in the summer, we really have a bad problem. North of Tropicaire always gets flooded because Van Camp, the drainage there just isn't big enough. Those two little culverts won't do anything. So we end up with drainage problems. The way this is meandering back and forth here, are you guys putting in a bunch of culverts down there wherever it jumps across back and forth along the swale? Because in my opinion, the way I see that, and let me go about it a different way. So how is that going to help our drainage and not hinder it?
There's a couple of things that need to be done on this project so that it can operate. So I'll get to the ditches, but I'll take as an example Big Slough, Macahatchee Creek. So the original section for Big Slough is like a half of a trapezoid, almost a square, right? But if you look at it now, it's all silted up and it's all curvy. So in order to put the bridge in there, we have to restore, at least for a portion of the creek, the original section of the channel. So that will improve drainage slightly. And that's only a very localized area. We need to do exactly the same thing for the ditches on the south side of Tropicaire. So what happens is, silt gets accumulated, overgrowth, and as years pass, ditches lose their cross section. So you get issues like ponding and flooding. So one of the ancillary benefits that the construction of this project will bring is restoration of the drainage on the south side of Tropicaire. Some of the culverts that exist there now, they're squashed because they're old, so those will be repaired, they'll be upsized, they'll be brought up to current standards on drainage, at least for the south side of Tropicaire. So an ancillary benefit of the construction of this project, because of the city's codes of ordinances, will be to improve the drainage on the south side of Tropicaire, way more than what it was designed for, because we now have to meet more stringent drainage standards.
If you wouldn't mind, the city's police department representatives have came to provide us with a little bit of insight on traffic control. At this time, I'd invite Officer Donahue and Chief Garrison, if they'd like to come up and say a few words about that.
Good evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Todd Garrison. I am the new police chief here. Well, new, I've been here, I guess, 8.5 months now. So I'm really coming into this last minute. I was on my way to another engagement, turned around and came back here to address the crowd. So basically, I understand someone in here has complaints or information about traffic in the Tropicaire area?
500 on Tropicaire.
Okay. So what I would encourage all of you guys to do is get that information to us, dates and times of this stuff is occurring, so we can send our enforcement team out there to address it. Okay. All right. What's that?
How many cops have they received down that road during the day when nobody's on? How many telephone poles have they taken out in the last year?
That I don't know off the top of my head. Okay. But I can tell you, though, we do have enforcement action out in the Tropicaire area. We do have a lot of traffic stops and citations issued, but particular instances, we want that information in. The only way we can act upon it is keep getting the information flowing. I know it's frustrating for you guys because we can't be there all the time, every day, on every street. We can only do the best that we can, but if there's an actual incident time frame that we can target, then that's what the information we need. But I can assure you, our numbers and everything will show you that we are out there enforcing traffic, and we are writing tickets, and we are taking people to jail. But we can't be everywhere all the time.
Chief, I think...
Hold on one second. Hold on.
I live right there on Tropicaire, and cars go by so fast sometimes you can't even tell what they are. There's a lot of pickup trucks that are hopped up, and they peel the rubber out. And I see a presence of police out there, probably more than in the past. But what I never see is a police officer taking radar off of one of the side streets, waiting for these guys to come by at 80 miles an hour or faster. Can we do that?
Absolutely, we can. And Sergeant Donahue is my actual sergeant over the traffic unit, okay? We just got the traffic unit up and running. It was commission-driven that we got that. So these guys are out there in full function. If Sergeant Donahue wants to add to this, you are going to see a significant change in traffic enforcement in the city of Northport because of the creation of this traffic unit. These guys their only responsibility is to go out and enforce the traffic violations in the city. All right? The other calls for service and stuff are going to be held for the zone officers, and the traffic enforcement team is going to be out there specifically addressing the needs of the community. So it's going to be something different than what you guys are used to, because this team is going to be going out there and addressing those needs. But what I need is, it's a partnership. I need your guys' help to do this. We can't do it alone. So we need your input, we need your feedback, whether it's positive or negative. I want to know both.
Chief?
I'm going to tell you, this is honest, Scott True. There was 3 kids riding motorcycles that were 10 years old in my neighborhood. I went down and filed a complaint. Jonathan Lewis was city manager. The cop there wouldn't take the complaint. I had to go to Jonathan's office, tell him, and he had the assistant city guy take the complaint. 10-year-old kids riding motorcycles down the middle of the street constantly.
Okay.
So something's got to change.
I understand your frustration, but you're dating that, okay? There's a new chief here. There's a new direction of the department. What I'm asking for is your support and your information flowing back and forth so we can address these issues. I can't tell you what's happened in the past, but I can tell you on my watch what's going to happen is we are going to address these issues, and we're going to take these issues very seriously. But I need your guys' help to do that.
What's the possibility of putting up 4 or 5 stop signs instead of making a thoroughfare?
That's not a law enforcement, matter of putting up stop signs, but the city can, address that. Ma'am?
Tropicaire is used as a bypass for the roads that have the stop signs and traffic lights. They're getting off of I-75 and taking it down to get to Ponce de Leon and other parts of the neighborhood. So rush hour to and from work is the worst part of the day. It's bad all the time. I've been burnt by mufflers walking down the side of the road. It becomes so close and fast. In the middle of the night, they like to drag race occasionally during the day, but rush hour is the worst.
Okay. Ma'am?
I just wanted to ask, so do we report it to the non-emergency number?
Yes, you can report it to the absolutely, yes. And this is what I ask. I ask for you guys to call, like, when this stuff's occurring. Some people will call and say, well, this is occurring, and when you ask them, well, when? All the time. Well, I can't just have a police officer sit on Tropicaire 24/7, hoping. So if we can narrow down the timeframes of dates and times, that'd be great.
So if we call you, 7300, right?
Yes.
Non-emergency, and you can see what pattern is occurring.
Absolutely.
You can send somebody out with, like.
Yes, this is the stuff that Sergeant Donahue analyzes.
Can we bring up tip 411 as of today? This is a new unit that we have created, like we said, and I want you guys to know that this is personal to me. Like, when I talk to people, if I've ever talked to you guys about a complaint, if not, I'm sure I will. It's just as important to us as it is to you, because I live in the city, I wouldn't want this going on. I mean, I've had cars speeding down my street, it drives me crazy. So I understand. Tip 411 is our app. Not only is it great to anonymously, if you want to report crimes or anything, but traffic. As of today, because this is a new unit we're establishing, I get those tips directly to me, so I vet them and understand that we have to vet them. We have 813 miles of roadways, give or take. You stretch that out, that gets you to nearly Ohio. So, to have maybe 15 cops max working on it, that's a lot of roadway to patrol. So we ask for patience and partnership. So we have to vet complaints. If we have one car that sped one time on a street, we can't, we're not going to rush resources and force resources out there. Tropicaire is obviously something we're going to address. It's a heavily traveled roadway. Someone mentioned, so we will. But tip 411 is great. Download the app, and you can send the traffic complaints there. They'll come right to me. We do vet them. We have to prioritize. Our goal of our unit is to deal with complaints like you guys are bringing up, which we appreciate, because sometimes there are lack of communication. I get it. But we prioritize with high crash locations that result in injury. Our goal is to keep people safe. So that's where we're going to focus most of our time. And subsequent to that, we're going to focus on other secondary complaints. So tip 411, I'm also working on, with the approval of administration down the road, a direct email address that people on top of tip 411 can email, and it'll come not only to me, but to my whole unit. So if I'm off tomorrow and they're working, they'll get it and they can address these problems. So there are going to be other options down the road too. Facebook messages are great. Josh forwards those to me. Just be patient is all we ask.
Ma'am?
Put that speed limit sign that blinks when you go too fast.
Yes, ma'am. I'll put that out there tomorrow.
That'd be awesome.
I'll do that tomorrow.
Now, will it be record how many people are going 50?
Not that trailer. However, we have a trailer that does speed studies. We have one. It's having maintenance done right now. I will have that out there. So once I get it back, we'll do an official speed study. And what the chief was asking from you all is date, time, work smarter, not harder. That will tell us with your all's help of when between 8 and 10 a.m. this many hundreds of cars came through and this was the average speed.
Right.
It's a great tool. So we will deploy that out there as soon as I get it back. It's broken right now, so we are working on fixing that.
The other thing will be fine.
For now, yes.
If you do a speed study out there, who does those results go to?
This comes to me and I keep our administration informed. My boss, he will keep his bosses informed.
Because you guys do a great job, and I'm not saying that you don't, and I know that you're coming into a new season and you guys are starting on a new program. And I don't think that it's your fault at all, because this road is really long and really fast and not very safe. So, you guys are doing your best and we're doing our best, but I just think that there's bigger problems that we have out there that should be addressed.
And I will
Speed limits
add-
and stop signs and, that's.
The issues we're seeing are your neighbors are the ones that are committing most of the
Oh, we're not saying
violations.
that.
You know, it's not outsiders traveling through there. They're people that live in your neighborhoods that are the ones that are disobeying the traffic laws. Yes, sir.
Have the intersections at 75 and Toledo Blade and Sumter, those interchanges been identified as issues?
Yes.
Okay.
And just so you guys know, Toledo Blade, I-75 and Morgan is a mess. We do our best to get out there, but we can't be out there and babysit every morning. We have calls to respond to. We have, like you said, over 100 miles of roadway. FDOT is aware of that. They have done studies and they're looking at their options, one being a traffic signal such as Kings Highway and 75. Those interchanges are maintained by FDOT.
Correct.
We do our best. So I see it out there. We get stuck in it too sometimes. But those are
And commission has made an issue with FDOT also to let them know that those are issues.
I would say on top of that, with U-turns not being allowed in certain situations such as Toledo Blade, they are being pushed down to our road, Nestor Court, and it's kind of tearing up all the new road work that was done and all the area around there with people making illegal U-turns there instead.
Okay,
So that's maybe
we'll
more
get
of a
back out
city.
there more often,
Yeah.
and we'll try to keep up with it. And here's the thing, I'll tell you how blatant people are. I've had 4 of my guys sit out there before at the no U-turn, because we have close collisions, and people will blow that no U-turn right in front of us. That's how, but they get tickets, and rightfully deserved, but there or not, they're gonna do those things. And we can't stop 50 cars at once, but we will re-energize our efforts to that, in hopes that DOT will speed up their process of fixing it permanently.
Okay.
Because they do shoot down to Nestor or further down to make it a legal U-turn.
Go ahead, sir.
Chief, first, thank you for turning around and coming back. It's not great to walk into an angry crowd, especially when you don't know why they're angry.
That's what you guys pay me for, though.
The biggest complaint is speeding on Tropicaire, and I will tell you that I'm a former cop, and I have seen more traffic enforcement out there in the last 6 months than there has been previously. I think that's due to the zone officers, not necessarily the traffic unit. I'd like to encourage you to add commercial vehicle enforcement to your menu for the traffic unit. Send those guys to school, let them start doing some commercial vehicle enforcement on the big trucks that are out there, because they are speeding as well, and they are really dangerous, because as you know, they can't stop. But I would welcome, I'd love to see you guys do some directed enforcement off Tropicaire a little more strongly, and I don't see you guys out there very often, but when you're out there, I wish you'd run radar.
Well, speaking of the commercial motor vehicle enforcement, we are actually in the process of exploring that option. I came from Lee County, and the City of Cape Coral Police Department has a commercial motor vehicle enforcement officer. It was, the position was provided by a grant. So we are exploring those options. I do see the need, because of all the construction and the growth that's going on in the city, that, we can't rely on the state all the time, right? So we have to train and educate our people, but there's different certifications that they have to have in order to do that. So we are exploring that.
Well-
And let me just add that our staffing levels are just now getting up to where we need them to be. Actually, this week, we've got 8 new police officers hitting the streets. So you got to understand, for the last year, we've been operating with minimal staffing. And the men and women in the Northport Police Department have really worked their butts off to hold the city in such great regard that it's in. So you're going to see a significant change because we are putting more boots on the grind. So, like I said, this week we've got 8 new police officers hitting the streets.
Well, I'd rather see those boots on Tropicaire than on 75, because I see Northport doing directed enforcement on 75, which personally I don't think is the role that the city should be focusing on. I'd rather see those cops in the neighborhoods and shaking doors at night in the...
I hear what you're saying, but you also have to realize, too, that we have a lot of bad wrecks on I-75. We don't spend a lot of time out there at all, but we have to pay some attention to it because the state's very limited in FHP trooper coverage, right, for the county. And when we have those major wrecks, it's causing a lot of resources from fire, from police to go out there, and then traffic's being diverted into the city, and then it's causing major issues into the city. So, we have to pay attention in all areas of the city, whether it's I-75 or 41, but I hear what you're saying. You had a question.
Am I correct that the big trucks are not allowed on Tropicaire between Sumter, that they're supposed to go down to Toledo Blade to access?
I don't know that.
There are numerous no-through truck zones, and it gets tricky because we have to statutorily prove that they are in fact cutting through. It's a great point with the commercial motor vehicles. I have 2 guys identified for that train already that already have a basis, a foundation of it, and on top of grants, we're going to partner with DOT, FHP, to come into the city as they're available to target certain areas we get complaints on. Tropicaire is clearly, I'm hearing now, is one of those.
Yeah, I know they have
South
signs up
Biscayne.
there.
Yes, now, the tricky part is on a long road with no through trucks, we have to be able to spot from the moment they enter to where they're going, because they may legitimately be there to deliver to a job, et cetera. So it's tough. We have a problem on Woodhaven that I think we have a good grasp on now. South Biscayne between 41 and Chancellor is a hot spot, and now I'm hearing Tropicaire is. So
Between Sumter and Toledo Blade, I'm noticing they're cutting in.
yeah,
Sumter-
and if they're strictly cutting through in
Yes.
violation of that traffic control device that the city has implemented, it is a violation.
Okay.
And that's something that we'll focus on as well. Commercial motor vehicles, like the chief said, we're trying to get ahead of that because of the growth. It's not slated to slow down anytime. And like you said, the state resources are limited to where we're going to, I just talked to one of my guys the other day, we're going to ask the DOT to send us a commercial motor vehicle officer to hit certain spots with us because they have more training and authority for inspections, et cetera, until we get ourselves trained. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Well, due respect to the officers, we had a meeting here tonight about the bike path, and I think we got sidetracked a little bit on that. And I think most of us over here don't want the bike path. Some do, some don't, but the majority don't. But we appreciate your service.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute, no, hold it, no, that majority vote, no, try that again. We just had a lot of talking. It's still not gonna make any difference because we have a lot of people who aren't here. We have a lot of people that are not here tonight, but having worked in safety, we have someone that says that bike path would save a lot of lives than having them ride on Tropicaire. So, as police officers, talk to us of your thoughts on that safety bike path that has equestrians and bicycles and pedestrians.
So our region in general, guys, has a higher than normal average of pedestrian and bicyclist related accidents. I mean, that's from Bradenton down. Majority of those are probably not in the city. However, one is too many. I'm not going to give my personal opinion. I don't live up there. You're not going to sucker me into that right now. I don't know enough about it, honestly. But I can tell you this. Our number one core value is preservation of human life. And anything we do is make people safer. So if we can do something regardless if it's traffic enforcement, pathways, it will make it safer. But it's a double-edged sword. Like you guys want us up there. Chief brought up a great point that sometimes we get traffic complaints. I stop a car. I'll explain to him why I'm there, and the lady or the guy be like, well, I was the one that complained. So be careful about what you ask for. This could open up, you never know, this could open up 10 more unknowns that no one's seeing right now too. Golf carts, I heard someone earlier bring up golf carts. The state statute is very clear on golf carts. you got any questions about that?
Yeah, on off-road vehicles where agriculture, a lot of times I'll take hay or something down to one of my friends in the back of my off-road vehicle. And as long as I stay off-road on the side and take it down, what's the legality there? And I am registered as an off-road vehicle.
Sure, then that would be fine, but it's again, it's one of those things where if we get asked, I know we do get from time to time, on the west end of the state, some off-road vehicle complaints. And again, by the time we get there, unfortunately, they're gone or they're in the garage, so it's tough for us. But if y'all want us to amp up golf cart enforcement, ATV enforcement, which again, some do, some are okay with it, again, it's all or none. You're good?
Leave the ATVs alone as long as they're being good.
Because here's the thing, you can't, unless the city enacts an ordinance specific to golf carts on sidewalks, which they have the power to do under Florida state statute, right now, the only motorized vehicle you can have with a golf cart is a mobility scooter. Mobility scooter, so it wouldn't be lawful. And they can enact an ordinance to bypass that and say, okay, we're gonna allow golf carts in this area, or not, but.
That makes sense. I appreciate that, because like I said, we brought out in agriculture so we could get from point A to point
Yeah,
B.
and it's very common, and you guys probably don't cause any problems there, but golf carts on roadways overall are illegal, for the most part.
I'm just getting a Massey Ferguson over to a friend's house to dig a ditch.
Does anybody else have any questions of us before we turn this back over to what you guys are supposed to be doing? All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes left for questions. So does anybody else have any outstanding questions they would like to ask?
Oh, two real quick ones. How much money has been invested with you guys so far?
The project currently is at 60% on design.
No, the project, no, how much
much
money has been invested in just the design?
I don't remember the value of our last invoice.
Okay.
But the design, but the design fee, I think in total with surveyor, geotechnical, is about $400,000.
My next question to the city, can this be canceled?
I would have to speak to my boss, which is the city manager, and he would have to go before the commission with respect to that. It's not a decision that the staff here tonight could make.
Can we see a show of hands? Who's in favor?
If I can ask that it's very important that, for example, if you support the project or you do not support the project, I would recommend that you fill out the comment sheets. Send us emails, let us know, and I will prepare a report that will be submitted to the city manager's department for him to review. So he will know everybody in attendance. As I was stating earlier, that is the purpose of these community meetings, to hear from the residents that live out in the area where we make our improvements as to how they truly feel. So I think that would be the best avenue to follow, is to fill out the forms. We have it in writing. If you would like updates on the emails, through emails, we will do that, as well as if you'd like to submit emails to us voicing your opinion on the project. I think that is actually the best way to handle it.
I'd still like to see a quick show of hands just so people here know.
Sure.
No, I agree.
The reason we say no is because a lot of people aren't here. And not to ask people that just showed up to say it is one thing, but to not have the people that actually had a
Ben?
voice, but maybe had to work late and couldn't be here. Instead, if you want to take a vote, put it on a survey and then send that in.
Yeah, I just have a question basically for the city. I live on Tropicaire, on the south side of Tropicaire. I spent a lot of money to put a nice fence across the front of my house, which according to your pictures, you're going to be right up against my fence. Who's going to pay for any damage that is done to my fence in my yard? The construction or just in general? I mean, I've had damage from ATVs running down. I mean, and if you're going to put a bike path or multi-use path, who's then is going to pay for the damage? It shouldn't have to be me in my insurance because you've put a path right next to my fence that was never there when I put my fence up.
So during construction, if any damage is done to private property during construction, is the responsibility of the contractor to repair it.
Okay.
During operations, it's just like any other city project that's under operations. Even if the path is not there, if somebody veers off Tropicaire and, ends up on a fence, how? Yes.
Yeah, which then raises my rate, so,
Doesn't
I
matter, we
mean,
already had that happen. We
So-
already had them come up to our
File a
place.
police report.
Yeah, file a police report.
well, I understand that, but once, file a police report, and I still, in order to get my fence fixed, I'm gonna have to pay for it for a multi-use thing that wasn't even asked of me as a person on that road prior to all this happening.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take one more question.
Yeah,
From there, and then we're going to be concluding the meeting.
You had an opportunity to send me a postcard about this meeting. Why can't you send me a questionnaire to all of the residents that are affected for a yes and no vote? That way, we don't have to worry about your email or the comment sheet. You can have a tabulated form that is directed toward the residents, period. In short, why can't you do the work instead of me? That's the bottom line.
Okay, I'd like to conclude the meeting. I'd like to thank everyone for coming to the community meeting, and I encourage you to please fill out the comment forms. Thank you very much.